Like, can you remember a time when you felt so much pain that at some point you really did not want to even feel it anymore? I believe that those are the moments where we must stay committed to resting. So how was your Easter 2021? What did you do? How did you celebrate it? Who did you spend it with? Because if one thing we know for sure is that Easter 2020 was quite different. If you can think back, or if you don't want to think back to 2020, I don't blame you. There's no judgment. I get it. However, the one thing that we can all agree upon is that Easter 2020 was completely different. For a lot of us, it seemed like it was canceled. Personally, I spent it in PJs at home, caught a service online, and I think a lot of people did that. However, Easter 2021 was completely different. Yet there was one particular day that I was more focused in kind of meditating than the others. So usually on Easter weekend, right, we have the Friday of the crucifixion, then the Saturday of complete darkness and death, but then we get Sunday resurrection. And so a lot of times we think a lot about Good Friday and kind of like what that sacrifice really represents. And then we kind of like glaze over Saturday and we look forward to Sunday and celebrating the resurrection and really the power of the actual like sacrifice of Jesus really coming back to life to give us life. Yet this year I find myself thinking a lot more about Saturday, right? And here's why. Because Saturday is the day that a lot of times we just want to kind of skip over in any season of life, right? Saturday is that day where things are uncertain. We don't know what's going to happen. We sometimes don't even know what is actually happening. That is Saturday. And a couple of years ago, I came to the conclusion that I know a person, or kind of a friend, I would say. Shout out to him because he's a phenomenal tour guide to take you around the Holy Land. So if you're ever planning a trip, I would recommend hitting up Twins Tours. It's amazing. However, he wrote the one of the owners, one of the twins, he wrote a book titled One Friday in Jerusalem. And upon reading the book, one of the things that was really impressed upon me is that all of us at some point lived through a Friday in Jerusalem. That doesn't mean we all have traveled and have actually walked the holy city. However, it does mean that all of us at some point in time go through a season of life, or just really a period of time where we just feel like we're being crushed, like the problems, the challenges, the trials that we are undergoing are really crushing us. The hope of this is that after crushing comes anointing, and so everything that comes out of that. But we cannot skip over kind of the hurt, or we cannot skip over some of the pain that is caused as a result of that process. So that is Friday. But then we get into Saturday, and Saturday is the day that I really, really, really spent most of my energy focused on this past Easter. And the reason for it is because there was one particular thing that caught my attention when I went to the Word. And the Bible doesn't say much about the Saturday, right? I think if we look at the Gospels, or the 4 Gospels, there's very almost nothing written to the effect of what happened, what did anybody do on Saturday. I suspect it's because Saturday was the Sabbath. It was like the ordained day for resting. And so it was really understood that you really didn't do much, right? I mean, there were a couple of times that people called out Jesus for performing miracles and doing things on Saturday, on the Sabbath. So it's just one of those things that culturally back then it was understood that you just did not do a whole lot, okay, except rest. And so when I was thinking about, Easter and kind of the sacrifice and that whole process for the disciples, it made me think about what could that have been like, or what could that have represented for the people following Jesus. So I'll read us so then I'll read us what I found in Luke chapter 23, verse 56. And I'll actually start with 55. But it says, the women who had come with Jesus from Galilee, they followed Joseph and saw the tomb and how his body was laid in it. That tells me like they followed all the way from beginning to end. They like stayed in the process. They did not want to get their gaze off of everything that Jesus was really going through and undergoing. But then verse 56 says, then they went home and prepared spices and perfumes, but they rested on the Sabbath in obedience to the commandment. So, in other words, it is Friday. We know that everybody had to rush in order to get Jesus, kind of prepare for burial. They couldn't really do all of the ceremonial things you would do actually for a burial to prepare a body, because the Sabbath or the sundown was kind of setting. And so they had to really kind of ensure that they were essentially not going to break any laws at that point, right? Or any sort of spiritual laws, we can say, regarding the Sabbath. So they have to rush and kind of get all that thing situated. The thing that caught my attention is that it says, but then they rested. So I started to think like, wow, like God is such a God of like, timing does not escape God. Like he has things planned to like the infinitesimal millisecond, right? Like time, God is not subject to time. Like it's not even that he does just, I mean, God is just not subject to our timetables. And I feel like that's why sometimes we may get frustrated because we want him to be, but he can be. He's not within our bounds of time. However, he is one to plan for timing. And so it really made me think about like crucifixion. I mean, couldn't it have happened any other day? Couldn't it have happened on a Tuesday? Could it have happened on a Wednesday, Thursday? And for whatever reason, God chose for it to happen on a Friday. And so if it happened on a Friday, so close to the Sabbath, to the rest day for everybody, then that really made me think like what could have been the intentionality behind that. And as I was kind of praying through that and just kind of like thinking in my I don't know, consciousness, I guess you could say, or in my spirits. But the thing that that was pressed upon me, and the thing that I really kind of came to a resolve to understand is that there had to have been a day of rest for us to reconcile what happened on a Friday to get us all the way through to a Sunday. I believe that when we're going through difficult seasons of life and we're going through challenges, the temptation is there for us to just kind of go, do, solve, resolve, and to really just like pour ourselves and all our energy to the point that we spend ourselves, right? That is very easy for us to do, right? We never want to get to the point of stopping. We just want to kind of always go and get to the end of things. However, I believe that God was intentional in just creating a space in the middle of like his crucifixion and his resurrection for us to really come to terms with just the commitment of resting. That we don't wait for things to be done. We don't wait for the process to be over. We must find the ways to rest in the middle of the process. I believe that resting is difficult because a lot of times we see rest as is something that is inactive. It's us not doing anything, or it's just us kind of like throwing the towel like, oh, well, there goes that. However, what if we change our mindset and really focus on the fact that resting is one of the most active things we could ever do? Resting is the one thing that can help us replenish in different areas of life. Imagine on that Saturday morning, or the women and the disciples and all the people that kind of followed Jesus and just saw everything happened on that Friday, on the Good Friday. Imagine them really getting to a point where all the emotions were expended, where they were just exhausted, and like getting to the point where like I could imagine not even wanting to feel. Like, can you remember a time when you felt so much pain that at some point you really did not want to even feel it anymore? I believe that those are the moments where we must stay committed to resting, where we really must determine within ourselves that rest is exactly what we need, that is the one thing that God is wishing upon us, right? Resting is the space where we will go to find also peace. When the Bible teaches us that the peace that God gives us surpasses all our understanding, is the fact that there's times where maybe we won't understand and maybe it won't even make sense for us to feel peace at that moment. However, it is our resolve to rest that I believe can get us to a state or a better state. And then to really find out what that means for you, you know, hey, resting can look like taking a nap. But resting is not just taking a nap. There could be other things that will bring you rest and that can really help you replenish. So as we kind of come from this Easter 2021 high, the thing that I really want to press upon you and just encourage you is that find those moments where you yourself can find rest and like pursue them, plan them out, enjoy them, and don't feel guilty for doing so. Resting is necessary. You need it. We need it. God is just waiting to give it to us. But however, that is something that you and I must commit to, regardless of the circumstances, the situations that we may be facing. And don't wait. Don't wait till things are resolved or completely done. Sometimes the best thing you can do is rest within a situation or within a challenge or within a season, because that is the one true thing that I believe will allow you to just get further. And to really get to the point where ultimately you are destined to be. So as you embrace 2021 and everything that you might want to accomplish, or even heck, if you have started off the year or your year is looking a little kind of like not that different from 2020 yet, I encourage you, be intentional about planning moments of rest for yourself. You know, your soul needs rest. Your soul needs to breathe from time to time. Like it just needs to. Your mind, like find moments where like you can just rest your mind and allow your mind to like refresh itself. And then also for your body, you know, whether that means like doing nothing, taking a nap, or saving your energies at some point. But whatever rest looks like for you, whether it's in the physical, in the emotional, in the psychological, in the mental, in your mental space, do that. Be intentional about that and like run with it. And with that, I would just like to say that until next time, I wish you plenty of rest and restful days. So until next time, bye.